Oh, it's back. The Nova engine. Better than ever, right?
Yep. It's gonna be a beast.
All right, let's get this thrown in the Nova so we can maybe go out testing this weekend with it. If all goes well, I think we should be able to run it, right, Preka?
Oh yeah.
Look at that guy.
Looking cleaner than ever. Ready to rip, bud? Well, not yet.
Well, I mean, once it's in, but
yeah,
it will be ready for it.
we rock and roll, baby. Think we can get it done tonight, Chad?
Do I think you can?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I told Molly I'll see her tomorrow.
Well, if you want to race this weekend,
It's crunch time.
yeah, it's getting down to the wire.
You always got to leave yourself some time for problems, which are inevitable. If you flash back to race week 2020, the first one, second one we're going to go to, Andy and I had this thing basically ready to go. We were just polishing it, and then we went through the tech line. We came back. There was a drip in the oil. We drained the dry sump tank, and there was a concerning amount of metal in the oil. We didn't know where it came from. You know, as expensive and one-off as this engine is, at this point we decided we were just going to go ahead and pull the plug. We checked the oil filter. It didn't look great, so we decided, hey, we're at the first day. Why would we push it and break everything and be stranded on the road with an engine that's not really fixable and there's not a lot of replacement and stuff? So we did Wally. So now, flash back to this, we got back, we pulled the engine out right away, took it to AES Racing in Chicago. They got it right in, went through it. We had some concerns about thrust bearings and stuff. It didn't hurt any of that. It really didn't have a whole lot wrong inside the engine. In summary, our theory is that the first time we ever had this car out with this engine, it had some issues where it did have some metal on metal problems. And we think all that metal was left over in a dry sump tank because it never drained the dry sump tank hot before. So when we drained it, we think, you know, being hot oil, it let that metal out. So luckily there wasn't really a lot wrong with it, but we took the time we upgraded with a new K-Tech high volume, high pressure pump. The LTs have a huge problem with low oil pressure and low volume. So it's got the LT4 improved pump on there. Luckily AES had already done the LS1 thrust bearing upgrade. These usually only have a half shell for a thrust bearing. They had the whole thing, but the bearings look good. So this thing's ready to rip. At least, I guess, in the end of the day, we know it will hold up to the power that we put down on the dyno and stuff like that without issues. So nothing super concerning. So we're just gonna toss it in and hopefully go racing this weekend. So our theory is that if you look at how a dry sump tank's constructed, the whole bottom section here is basically all it does is drain oil. So if that stuff had built up as sludge because we used thick 20W50 in this thing and it just let loose because this is the first time we ever drained oil hot out of the actual dry sump tank, that would explain it. Otherwise, I really have no explanation. But what a crazy turn of events. I mean, Wally was awesome, but that's what makes sense. And this is where it picks up the oil above that level. So it would have never circulated that oil back into the system, but it would have been sitting there. So that's my hypothesis. I don't know. I've done all kinds of racing. That's the first time this has ever happened. So live and learn, and we're back better than ever. Actually, we'll put the motor plates on in the car. Remember how hard it was to get it past there? These were one-off. These flanges, nobody made them when we built them.
Yeah.
My buddy went off made them before we even had a CNC machine.
Maybe update them to the new ones. Or
That's pretty cool.
Nah, I think they're a little.
Oh, yeah, those are different. Yeah.
Little piece of history.
Yeah.
No, we have these now, but these were Andy had drawn them. It was like a week before we needed them. My buddy just machined them quick for us. Little piece of history. So when I put this together originally, what was it, like 2015 or something, I think?
Yep.
And so John was still working at a dealership then, and John was just saying he hadn't even they wouldn't even see him to work on them.
Corvettes at that point.
So I'm having flashbacks, like the motor plates I had to make by myself because nobody made an LT motor plate back then. They actually have the same exact bolt pattern as an LS. So what I did is this car was already an LS, so I laid the old motor plates over. I marked those out, center punched them or transfer punched them, and then just cut out what I needed. And then the holes were in different locations, so I had to move the water ports and stuff like that. But like even the headers I had to make, the alternator mount I had to make, the flex plate, we ordered like 3 different flex plates because nobody listed one for an LT at that point. And which one is it? 399756. I think it's an LS9 or LSA flex plate. It just happened to work, so now the stuff's all readily available. But when we were trying to go 7s, and we did originally, like everything
Nothing
was
available. Everything's handmade.
Yeah, even Tony at AES, like he's like, I've never touched an LT engine, and luckily he did a bunch of upgrades in it. He finished the thrust bearing out with a full thrust bearing because it probably wouldn't have made it. Just improved the design on a lot of stuff. Kind of crazy to see, like, what was that? That was 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
But still, a lot has happened in the last few years.
I remember when you guys were trying to find schematics and stuff, and I was like midnight at home trying to look up schematics when you guys were in the parking lot.
And they didn't have them.
I could get schematics, but I couldn't find what you were.
What we needed, yeah. Yeah, we went like a month without it running because they made 2 different rear fuel pressure sensors. One's a 3-wire and one's a 4-wire, and they both use the same plug. You just wouldn't know, because they both would plug in the same, but if you didn't have the right one for however many pins are in that one,
You'd be missing one.
yeah, even though it had 4 pin slots, you just didn't even like pay attention to it. You just put it together and it worked, and you're like, so for like a month it was reading like 6,000. I think it was a couple
Maxed
weeks,
out.
but like yeah, it was like maxed out, and so it wouldn't start. We could start it on ether and it would run, and I'm like, okay, so I know everything else is wired correctly. You could just spray ether into the turbos and it would, but then it wouldn't keep running. So crazy stuff. We had to make this dry sump adapter too because we couldn't fit the factory dry sump tank in it, so we had to make something that would convert it to AN. Back then nobody made anything, so local buddy of ours machined it for me so we could actually hook the oil lines up. All out of necessity. I'll just start hauling down.
Okay.
You good on those? Got one? Oh yeah. Both?
Yep. We're both out.
Hopefully they're coming out.
Doesn't come
I
down.
think we had the headers off when we pulled it out. I'm wondering. Let me grab Brian real quick. I don't think we're gonna get it on with the headers. We're not going to. That ain't going in there.
You do it with one of them on and one off, or
Likely you can probably do one on. I didn't even think about that before we started. Amateurs. We're amateurs. I am. He's not. Basically ready to start.
Let's go.
Last time I pulled this thing out, I was at my own house. Long time ago. Hot pipes move around a lot. Every time you put them back together, there's a little bit different than the time before.
not quite lined up.
That one's on. Okay. On the home stretch. Just fixing stuff we didn't do right the first time. Or the second time. This is much cleaner routing now. I actually do remember that line. It was always in the way. Because I think it was like, it did like a little whoop-de-whoop. One of those things that once it's together, you're like, ah, it's good enough. I'm not messing with that. I got better things to do. Like plug there. Should only go one way. Yeah. Nope, other way around. Okay. The LT intake when it first was together, there was all the wiring bundles for both computers ran through the middle underneath there. Dude, we had to like stand on it to start the bolts because it was like there's so much wiring like pushing up on the intake. I'm like, huh, start the bolts.
Get it on, get it on.
It was so bad, dude. What a cluster. Finishing her up.
Getting close.
It's like a time lapse, you know? When you're doing it, you forget to video. It just looks like it happens in 12 seconds. But we only have, what, like 3-4 hours into it?
Yeah.
I got a couple minutes into it.
You got 12 minutes into it. Andy's got, thanks for the 12 minutes, Andy.
Almost as long as it takes me to mount.
So we are finishing hooking up the flex plate, starter, got all the wires hooked up, going over everything under here. We poured some break-in oil in it and just giving it a little last once over, really. And hopefully it fires right up. Andy, how many things do you think we left loose?
Hopefully less than the last time.
When was the last time?
Bald Regal.
The bald regal. Oh, but nobody cared about that.
And the power steering and stuff, that was funny.
I gotta turn this around right now because it's really driving me nuts already. I can't stand my V-bands being backwards. Drives me nuts. Like when you can see everything about it, you're like, it's not like something I want to look at. All right. One more once over. You got the water lines tight?
Yes.
Okay.
You got water in it?
No.
No, but we'll,
Don't want to get hot.
yeah, well, good point. We do have a hose, so that'll make that easy. All right, let's see if she starts. Need some water. Nice work, guys.
Great success.
Thanks, Preka.
Yep.
This is all thanks to Preka. Coming home from a 21-hour road trip and then driving another 3 hours. Nice work, Andy. Nice work, John.
Nice.
John skipped softball to hear an overrun. I feel like that was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
It was a more manly thing to do. Yeah, I'm gonna put some water in it.
On that note, I'm
Okay.
at home though.
All right.
Pick up that motor.
See Perka?
Thank you, sir.
Go home. Sleep for a little bit. Some
No, no.
sleep. No?
Yeah, I need sleep.
Okay.
Should we take it for a cruise?
Good day for a drive.
Good day for a drive. Outing, don't you? Got up on the brake. Oil pressure's good. I think that new oil pump is definitely working well. I'm gonna like the extra oil pressure over what it had before, and no issues, no leaks. So the cool thing is, since this thing was ready to go on race week, we really don't have much to do other than maybe get some of the race week stuff out of here and get it ready to go to the track. So we will get our little race week trailer all loaded up because I'm not gonna haul this thing on a trailer when I can just drive it to the track, and we'll see what she does this weekend.
See what she does this weekend.
Just driving this old girl home from work, getting some test miles on it before we make the journey to the track tomorrow, and see what she'll do. But can't forget my partner in crime, Bubba, and Teddy. That's her little nook down there. But we're driving.